Integration of Amibroker with Goodwill Commodities API. I am offering freelance AFL coding services at a very affordable price. I code AFL for charting, scanners, backtesting, API integration, algo trading, and conversion from TradingView Pine Script, MetaTrader MQL, and Python. I also provide strategy development, backtesting, and optimization. If you need AFL coding services, please contact me on Telegram. Feel free to share this information with your friends and relatives. You can download my AFLs from my blog, where you'll also find useful information for trading. All updates and modifications to the AFLs will be posted on this blog. Join my Telegram channel to stay updated on my blog posts, YouTube content, and useful trading information. Updates and modifications to the AFL will also be shared in this channel. For more useful codes, please support me by making a donation or referring my freelance services. I created this video to provide a detailed explanation of the code, which is available free of charge. Please watch the video carefully. If you encounter any difficulties with installation, I offer installation support on a freelance basis. In this video, I explain how to connect Amibroker to the Goodwill API. This process is similar to using a broker's Python SDK to connect to the broker from a Python terminal. To use this integration effectively, you should have some basic knowledge of AFL coding and the broker's API. If the broker makes changes to their API, the integration might not work, and I may not be able to provide immediate support. Therefore, learning to modify the AFL yourself will be beneficial. I will provide updates as soon as possible. If you are trading with a large fund or managing multiple accounts, it is advisable to use a third-party bridge. If you are not familiar with coding, you can skip the coding explanation and simply use the AFL as you would with other bridge AFLs. This AFL is simpler and easier to use compared to most other bridge sample AFLs. Be sure to test this AFL during aftermarket hours using bar replay or button trading before going live. Use this AFL at your own risk. Curl is a lightweight and fast utility for sending HTTP requests. Since 2018, Windows comes with curl pre-installed. For earlier versions of Windows, download curl from the official website and extract it. From the extracted files, open the bin folder and copy curl.exe and curlcabundle.crt into the Amibroker installation folder. For more details about curl, watch my previous video on my YouTube channel titled Amibroker Broker API Integration Free. You can check curl API commands from the command prompt as shown here. In addition to Amibroker snippets, I also provide curl snippets. Download the curl test AFL from my blog and open it in the AFL editor. Click the debug button. This will create a folder named Amibroker API on the C drive and download an example text file into this folder. If you see the example file in the Amibroker API folder, the curl installation was successful. If curl is already available on your system and you want to skip this step, you can manually create a folder named Amibroker without spaces on the C drive. This folder will be used to save API response data. Please visit developer.gwsindia.in and read the API documentation. This is the base URL. Along with it, you need to append the endpoint URL for each specific request. After login, You must include the API key and access token as a bearer token with each request. To obtain the request token, you need to visit this link each morning with your API key and log in using your credentials. After login, you will be redirected to the specified redirect URL, where you can find the request token in the address bar. To log in, you need to send the API key, request token, and signature. The signature is the SHA-256 encrypted hash of the concatenated string formed by your API key, request token, and API secret. This is the URL for placing an order, and the following are the values you need to send. When using the API, it's important to be aware of the request limits, which dictate how many requests you can send. Exceeding these limits will result in errors from the API. Note that these limits are not mentioned in the Goodwill documentation. To obtain your API key and API secret, go to developer.gwsindia.in and login. Enter your credentials and submit. Create new app. To create an app, provide a name, a description, and a dummy URL for redirecting the request token. Copy the API key and secret key and save them, as you will need to add them in the AFL. Download the AFL file from my blog and place it in the Amibroker custom folder. Open the AFL file in the AFL editor. You can set your credentials as default parameters within the AFL. Add details within double quotes. Don't leave extra spaces. For multi-account users, use the username value to assign a unique number to each user. Make a separate copy of the AFL file for each user and apply all copies to your charts. For a single user, you can keep the default setting. The ACSTOKP parameter allows you to manually enter your token if there are changes in the log file or if you receive the token from another source. So leave this field empty. After entering the default parameters, save the AFL file. Now your credentials are pre-filled as default parameters, so you won't need to enter your credentials every time. In this URL, replace XXX with your API key. Save this URL to your bookmarks or speed dial for easy access. Each morning, visit the saved URL with your API key and log in using your credentials. After logging in, you will be redirected to the specified URL. The request token will be available in the address bar and is valid for only 10 minutes. Double-click the Goodwill login AFL to add it to an empty sheet or drag it onto your existing chart that doesn't have any bridge-related codes. This step needs to be done once per day, and it includes a request-timed refresh function, so you can apply it to background sheets like Sheet 2 or Sheet 3, etc. Check that all parameters are set correctly. We need to enter the request code in the white box and then click Login. First, the AFL will delete any existing response files and remove static variables. It will then send a login request and receive a response in JSON format, which is similar to comma-separated values. The response will be saved as a text file in the Amibroker API folder. The login file will be read to set the access token in a static variable. The API key will be set from the parameter. Consequently, you can obtain the API key and access token from any AFL by calling the static variable. After setting the static variable, the AFL also sends a limits request and the response is saved in the Amibroker API folder. From this response, you can obtain the cash margin, booked P&L, and unbooked P&L. These values are not set as static variables. Here I get limits by manual only. If you need to calculate MTM-based exits, use these values for calculations. If you want MTM for square of positions, call this API within the rate limits. The Set Manual button is used to manually set the token from the parameter. After login, you closed Amibroker and open the static variables will be removed. You don't need login again. Use this button to set manual from the login file. This is also useful if the broker changes the login response format and you can obtain the token from the response file. In such a case, copy the token from the response file, paste it into the token manual set parameter, and then click Set Manual. If you receive the token from other apps, you can also copy the token from those apps, paste it into the token manual set parameter, and click Set Manual. The Reset button is used to remove static variables. The Delete Response button deletes the response files in the Amibroker API folder. Use this if needed. The Get Limits button sends a limits API request at any time after the initial automatic limits retrieval. If there is no login file, it will display login not available. If there is no static variable, it will indicate access token not set. If there is no limit file, it will show get limits. If there is error while login, it show the error message from response file. If the login is successful, the access token will be displayed on the first line, followed by the token set in the static variable on the second line. The balance will be shown on the third line. Currently, the Balance API only provides the cash balance. Although it has options for PNL and MTM, data for these options is not available. To show you an error message, first I enter a dummy token. The login response will give the error message. After logging in as described earlier, the request token will appear in the redirect URL. From this URL, you can copy either just the token or the entire link. Paste the token into the white box and click Login. We will remove any extra characters in the access token using AFL coding. Download the Goodwill Algo Order AFL from my blog. When applied to the chart, it functions as button trading and is coded for the cash segment, so please use it with equity symbols. To place an order, first log in, then click Buy or Short to initiate the order, and Sell or Cover to close the position. Check the broker terminal to verify that the order has been placed. The Reset button is used to remove static variables. After clicking Buy, a static variable is set for the open position. If you click Buy again, the order will not go through. In this case, you need to click Sell to close the position and resend the buy order. Alternatively, you can click the Reset button to clear the static variables and then send the buy order again. The Algo Order AFL includes a trace function to log order details. You can view the order details in the log window under the Trace tab. If you are using this feature for the first time, enable it by right-clicking on the Trace tab, selecting Trace Output, and ticking Internal. This will display the time the order was sent. The order book shows the time the order was placed. The difference between these two times represents the actual time taken to place the order. You can compare this with other bridges or platforms to evaluate their speed. For instance, order placement from Chennai took less than a second, while from AVPS in Canada, it took up to 2 seconds. For faster order placement, consider using a VPS located in Mumbai. An Amazon AWS VPS with 2 cores and 2 GB of RAM should be adequate for most needs. If you want to place orders using your own strategy AFL, replace this line with your strategy. After doing so, you can apply it to the chart or run it in the scanner. If you prefer to use this as a drag and drop, remove this line and save the file. To replace this line, ensure that your AFL includes functions for buy, sell, short, and cover. This AFL automatically calculates the quantity based on the position size and the day's opening price and is coded for the equity segment. Enable the Need Order Number option if you want to modify or cancel orders. When enabled, it will save an order response file in the Amibroker API folder, which includes the order number needed for modifications. You can customize the details of these messages as needed, including information such as entry price, stop loss, target, and other relevant details. This message string will be used for trace messages, pop-up notifications, and Telegram messages. If you need Telegram alerts, enable the code by removing the slashes and asterisks at the top and bottom. Then, enter your bot key and channel ID. Next, remove the double slashes within the order code. For more details on sending Telegram alerts, watch my first YouTube video titled Send Alerts from Amibroker to Telegram. Change the order details as needed, including limit orders, market orders, price, trigger price, etc. To enable pop-up notifications or Telegram alerts, remove the double slashes at the beginning of the relevant code lines. Download the Goodwill Entry Exit Orders AFL from my blog. This sample AFL places entry and stop loss limit orders. It functions similarly to a cover order but places two separate orders simultaneously, a market order for entry and a stop loss order for exit. Download the Goodwill Options AFL from my blog. This AFL is designed for buying options based on the underlying asset. It automatically checks the index, selects the ATM strike, and places an order for the number of strikes from the ATM specified in the parameters. Be sure to set the expiry date. For multiple accounts across different brokers, make a copy of the login AFL for each respective broker. Assign a serial number to each user account and enter this number in the username value. Apply each AFL one by one and log into each account sequentially. For multiple accounts across different brokers, make a copy of the login AFL for each respective broker. Assign a serial number to each user account and enter this number in the username value. Apply each AFL one by one and log into each account sequentially. In the Goodwill Amibroker SDK AFL, I have included all the AFL codes and details. Additionally, I have provided curl commands for checking in the command prompt.